Leprechauns are one of the most famous figures in Irish folklore. They're described as small, bearded men, usually wearing bright coats and hats. But don't let their cheerful image fool you. Legends say leprechauns are clever, tricky, and dangerous. They're cobblers, constantly mending their shoes because they're always on the move. Why? What are they running from? The first known mention of leprechauns comes from an 8th century Irish tale called The Adventure of Fergus, son of Léti. In this story, Fergus, a king of Ulster, falls asleep on a beach after a long day of hunting. While he sleeps, 3 tiny beings, known as leprechauns, sneak up and begin dragging him into the sea. Can you imagine waking up to find yourself being pulled into the waves by creatures no taller than your knees? But Fergus wasn't just any king, he was brave and clever. Instead of panicking, he captured the creatures and held them captive. Now, these beings weren't just mischievous, they were magical. Realizing they couldn't overpower the king, they offered him a deal. 3 wishes in exchange for their freedom. Some say Fergus wished for power, others say wealth. But whatever the truth, this tale marked the beginning of the leprechaun legend. Over time, the image of these tiny magical beings shifted. They became less like helpful sprites and more like cunning tricksters, hoarders of treasure who punished those foolish enough to seek their gold. Quick, like and subscribe, or a leprechaun will take all your money tonight. But here's where it gets interesting. Why were leprechauns so fiercely protective of their treasure? Some believe it wasn't theirs to begin with. These stories suggest that leprechauns didn't just find their gold, they took it, stealing from ancient kings, warriors, and even other magical beings. Others claim their treasure was cursed, a burden passed down through centuries, forcing them to guard it for eternity. The tale of Fergus, son of Léti, reminds us of something important. Leprechauns aren't just playful fairies. They're symbols of power, greed, and consequences. Even when they offer rewards, their help often comes at a cost. So if you were granted 3 wishes by these creatures, would you trust them? And if you did, what would you wish for? Leprechauns are known for their mischief. They love to play tricks on people, often leading them into trouble. Legends say they'll promise you treasure or grant wishes, but their deals always come with a catch. Imagine wishing for gold only to find it cursed or worse, vanishing right before your eyes. Would you dare to make a deal with one? Today, we think of leprechauns as wearing green coats and hats with cheerful red beards. But older stories describe them very differently. They wore red jackets, sometimes tattered and muddy, and had wrinkled, withered faces. In some versions, their eyes were sharp and piercing, almost haunting. Doesn't sound so cheerful now, does it? Legends say leprechauns guard pots of gold hidden at the end of rainbows. But have you ever wondered where this gold really comes from? Some say it's treasure buried during ancient wars, wealth hidden by kings and warriors who never returned to claim it. Over time, the leprechauns found these forgotten riches and made them their own, guarding them with clever tricks and powerful magic. Other stories are darker, suggesting the gold is stolen. It's said leprechauns would creep into homes, stealing coins or valuables from unsuspecting people. But this stolen wealth didn't come without consequences. Many believe the gold is cursed, bringing bad luck, misfortune, or even death to anyone foolish enough to take it. Think about it. What would you do if you stumbled upon a pot of gold in the woods? Would you grab it without hesitation, or would you think twice, knowing it might be cursed? What if, as you reached for it, you heard faint laughter behind you? Would you run, or would your greed keep you there? There's one more thing to consider. Legend says the gold is enchanted. If you try to take it, it may vanish the moment you touch it. Some even claim that anyone who tries to steal a leprechaun's treasure ends up lost in the woods, wandering forever. So is the gold worth the risk? Or is it better to leave it untouched and walk away? So, are leprechauns real? No, they're not tiny men running around with pots of gold. But yes, their stories are very real, rooted deeply in Irish culture and history. They symbolize greed, cunning, and the dangers of chasing easy riches. Maybe the question isn't whether they exist, but what they represent. What do you think? Here's the disturbing truth. Leprechauns aren't just cheerful mascots for St. Patrick's Day. Their stories warn us about the dangers of greed and trickery. They're reminders that chasing wealth and power often leads to trouble. So the next time you see a rainbow, ask yourself, would you risk everything for what lies at the end? Leprechauns may not be real, but their stories carry a powerful message. Beware of greed and always think twice before making a deal. What's your take on leprechauns? Folklore, or could there be a grain of truth? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more myths and mysteries.